My name is Eric Vogt. I am your Grand Maître. You can tell that I'm the Grand Maître because I walk around with this 7-pound scepter, originally crafted 70 years ago by our first Grand Maître, H. Gregory Thomas, who was president of Chanel and who stood 6 feet 6 inches tall. I also have his robe, but I had to cut off 10 inches to be able to walk around in it. The broad context of this event, and I want to thank you all for joining us, is education. It's a process that we kicked off 3 years ago with educateurs in each chapter, an annual educateur forum, educational sessions in each local chapter, a YouTube channel to see things, presentations live, a Dropbox to exchange presentations, and a sip and chat quarterly exchange. I'd like to introduce the team, and as I introduce the team members, speak up so that we can see you as in speaker mode. First, there's Victoire Touton, the North American marketing for Angélus.
Hello, I'm here.
Speak,
Welcome,
please.
everybody. I'm very happy to have you at this Zoom.
Also, we have Jennifer Aspen Mason, Atlanta educateur, and really project manager of this whole event. She'll also be collecting questions. Jennifer, are you there?
I am here. Glad to be here. Thank you, Eric.
Oh, great, good. Third, we have Colleen Hubbs, who's governor at large and Atlanta educateur.
Oh, hi, everyone.
You have to trigger the screen shifting, that's all. Thank you, Colleen. We have also Tim Jerome, our Dallas educateur, and our really our Zoom jockey, riding herd on the mute button this afternoon.
Hi there, everybody. Glad to be here.
Good. And finally, I hope he's here, as Scott Levy, the Metro of New Orleans, and is our import magician, who actually was figured out how to get the wine to everyone, despite the customs. But most importantly, I'd like to introduce my friend, Stephanie de Bouard-Rivoal. She's the 8th generation of the Boüard family running Chateau Angelus. I first met her, she was a private banker in London and has made quite a transition. So congratulations, Stephanie, and please kick it off.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Eric. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm delighted and looking forward to have this conversation, discussion around wine, around the estate Chateau Angelus, my family estate, and about this long history. I know you've all read very, very well the book of Angélus, so I can't wait to have the quiz to start and to check all of that in a minute.
Great, thank you. And Helena, you guys ready for the quiz? I think we hit them with them right at the beginning. Okay, good luck.
Okay,
folks.
I'm just gonna explain a little bit. I hope everyone enjoyed perusing this beautiful book. We have a very serious quiz today, and I unfortunately have to tell you that if you fail it, you will have to return your wine samples. Just kidding. But I'll go ahead and read the first one. What was the second miracle Saint Emilion performed that led him to sainthood? He walked into a hot oven with dough and emerged with a baguette. He walked into a hot oven with apples and emerged with a tarte tatin. He turned bread into wood and back again, or he walked into a hot oven with nothing and emerged unscathed.
Here's the result.
Yes, so everyone, most of the people got the answer right. He walked in a hot oven with nothing, emerged unscathed. The first miracle was that he turned bread into wood and back again to feed the poor. So the next question. Hubert de Bouard embraced many innovative techniques in the 1980s. After finishing his studies at the Bordeaux University's Faculté d'Œnologie, which one was most resisted by his father, Jacques? Doubling the amount of time the wine was aged, stuffing cow horns with manure and burying them in the vineyards by the light of the moon, green harvesting, or carrying out malolactic fermentation in barrel. So the answer is green harvesting, which everyone got, most people got. The thing that
actually, Hubert de Bouard did do all of these things except for the biodynamic practice of using the cow horns in the vineyard. The green harvesting, cutting off the extra bunches of grapes, his father had a difficult time warming up to. Okay, the last question is, to what does the name Angélus refer? A prayer to which the villagers were called 3 times a day. The name is derived from that originally given to the wine by the locals who revered this wine. Specifically, they called it angel juice, Angelus, or the Roman emperor who loved wine, or the local meaning for the first morning of harvest. And it looks like most people got the right answer. The prayer that the villagers were called to, the bells, the Angélus bells were located in Saint-Martin de Mazerat, and they rang 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, and the villagers lived their day, kept their time by them. And that's the end of the quiz.
Bravo, thank you, Colleen. Glad to see that some people read some of the book.
Yes.
I'm encouraged. And Stephanie, now you have a benchmark for what people understand and how studious they've been. Back to you, Steph.
Sure. Well, it's a great way to start, to see, as you mentioned, to have a benchmark. So it's good that I still have some knowledge to give you about Angélus. And at the end of the session, I'm sure Angélus will have no more secret for you. I think without waiting more, we could start with the video of the harvest 2019, so that everyone can see the life of the harvest at Angélus. And I don't know if all of you, most of you, I'm sure, but not necessarily all of you, have ever been to Angélus. So it's a way to introduce you after the book to Château Angelus.
L'arrivée à la propriété, à la lueur du jour, lever du soleil est un moment fantastique, merveilleux. C'est un moment de calme, de quiétude, d'apaisement.
La journée d'un vigneron démarre très tôt et je trouve que c'est formidable, ces 3 sonneries. Ça ponctue vraiment la journée et de travail, et de bonheur et de plaisir, de dégustation de raisins en ce moment en tout cas.
Les vendanges sont un des moments les plus intenses de la propriété, avec une émotion particulière, avec une euphorie, une certaine inquiétude aussi bien sûr, mais beaucoup de joie et de partage avec les équipes. Tous nos collaborateurs sont attachés à cette période, à ce moment des vendanges, et les vendangeurs, pour certains, viennent depuis plusieurs décennies, et qui viennent depuis 30 ans, 40 ans, que ce soit à la table de tri, que ce soit dans les vignes. Donc il y a un rendez-vous, il y a une fidélité, il y a un attachement à notre famille et à notre propriété.
Alors le déjeuner, c'est plein de convivialité, hein. C'est vraiment quelque chose d'extraordinaire, c'est-à-dire qu'on peut très bien avoir nos distributeurs, nos négociants, nos courtiers, des journalistes qui viennent, mais on a aussi nos équipes techniques qui sont là, les équipes de la vigne, les équipes du chai, et ils viennent partager ce moment.
On a cette complicité avec le chef Alexandre Beaumard, qui officie au logis de la Cadenne, qui est en charge donc, de tous nos repas de vendange. Et c'est l'occasion de lier le logis de la Cadenne à Château Angelus. Je crois que les choses se font avec beaucoup de naturel et de spontanéité. Nous sommes une famille, nous recevons la façon qui est la nôtre, qui nous correspond, qui nous ressemble, celle qu'on aime, c'est-à-dire beaucoup de simplicité. La fin de journée est un moment important pour moi, bien sûr, puisque c'est le moment où je récupère mes 2 enfants. Et c'est un moment intense parce qu'évidemment, ils ont beaucoup d'énergie. Ils occupent les lieux, ils ont un émerveillement lorsqu'ils sont à la propriété. Ils font partie de la 9e génération et je trouve ça très touchant de se dire que peut-être cette génération sera aussi passionnée et capable et qualifiée pour reprendre le flambeau.
Ils sont bons ceux-là, les garçons. Et moi, c'était mon rêve. Je veux dire, quand on a refait cette propriété et qu'on y a mis le carillon et qui sonne, pour moi, c'est une vraie émotion. Je pense à l'avenir, je pense au passé, je pense au présent. C'est vraiment quelque chose qui est extraordinaire, qui nous remonte à la fois dans l'histoire et qui nous prolonge et qui nous amène dans le futur.
Thank you very much for attention. As you can see, the family is really at the center of Angélus. I would like to send the regards of my father, Hubert de Bouard, that you saw. So he's not with me, but he asked me to transmit his regards to everyone. So I will start with myself. I was born in 1982, so exactly 200 years after my first ancestor, Jean de Bois de la Forêt, who settled down at Angélus. And I grew up in Saint-Emilion. I was born in Bordeaux. I spent all of my childhood at Angélus. I was lucky to be running across the vines next to my grandfather, next to my father. And early, I'd say at the age of 7, I told them that I wanted to be part of the management in the future. I wanted to run the business with them. So they smiled, told me to continue to work at school, and then that we'll see that later. So after I started at Angélus in 2012. I took over from my father and from my uncle. It was a smooth and a nice transition. And very, straight on when I took over, I had a great opportunity to really run the estate myself. Of course, they were next to me and they are my best advisors. That's wonderful for me to know that I have 100% I'd say freedom and flexibility, and I can decide everything. But my father has managed the estate for more than 30 years, so his expertise, his opinion, his view, his philosophy is key for me, so we share a lot. So now I will say some words about the Angélus and I'd say the vineyard and the terroir. I wanted to remind you, but I saw in the quiz that you had this topic already mentioned, that the origin of the name of Angélus. So just to give you a few more details, you saw that it's a Catholic prayer that is celebrated 3 times a day. And due to setting of a few plots of Angélus that are on the plateau, it's a natural amphitheater where the sound particularly echoes. And we can hear the church bells ringing, heralding the prayer Angélus 3 times a day, because there are 3 churches surrounding the estate. And then the plots where we can hear very precisely the sound of the bells from these churches was named Clos l'Angélus, and by extension, it's been called. I mean, the whole name has been given to the estate, Chateau Angelus. Now, talking about the terroir, the first of all, I'd say the geographical orientation. It's a southern exposure with a terroir specificity that it spreads out from the top of the plateau, and it goes all along the plateau towards the foot of the slope. And we have this typicity with 2 types of soils. So on the plateau, we have a high proportion of clay, and that perfectly suits the Merlot. So our Merlot are located on the north and east part of the estate, whereas on the foot of the slope, we have lesser clay with limestone. And that's really where we have the Cabernet Franc. So if you look on the right, yeah, just here you have written Boucher, and Boucher ET is the plot. I don't know if you can show with yeah, here exactly. And the rest is really on the further left, so west part, all the Cabernet Franc, west exactly here. All of that, these are the Cabernet Franc, all that part's the Cabernet Franc. Now, one thing as well that is very important at Angélus is the combination between tradition and modernity, innovation. I really never oppose them. I think they are very complementary. At Angélus, we have, just to take you an example, we have horses working on the vines, but more recently, about a year ago, I decided with the technical team to have an electrical robot that works in the vine, that doesn't need to have any human to drive it. So that's quite interesting to see as well, because it's a clean robot. There is no detritus, of course, of gas or something else. So it's great to forecast, to have I'd say the fundamentals, that is really the tradition, and that I always take into account in the decision, in the equipment. I think it's very important to continue with this tradition, but also we will live in our era, and to have this modernity, to go beyond, to improve. Of course, nature always have, you know, the last word, but it's important that we do not only wait, particularly with the frost where we have this wind turbine that are activated when the frost is threatening in April, and we have also big candles that warm up the atmosphere. So that's very important. Also for the hail, because we are threatened by the hail, we have these balloons that are blown up with helium, and then they are absorbed by the cloud when the cloud comes, because we have an application on our telephone. And so we can launch this balloon, and then there's salt inside, salt crystals that enable the ice to melt, not to be formed, and to have ice cubes falling in the vine. So just for you to know that we're working very hard to limit these extreme weather conditions. And the other thing that is very special is the soil, the clay that we have, that acts as a tank of water. And that, you know, it retains water, so it brings the necessary water all along the summer when we have drought. Now, we have all the 2014. I don't know if you poured both vintages, 14 and 2004. For each vintage, we give a name to the wine. And the 2014 vintage is called the Indian because there was an Indian summer, a very long after season, beautiful and long after season in September, October. And this allowed to have beautiful and ripened Cabernet Franc. In 2014, we have 50% Merlot and 50% Cabernet Franc, so that's a higher proportion of the usual blend that is usually 60% Merlot and 40% Cabernet Franc. So 10% more is really significant, and really means that we have these finest pure Cabernet Franc, and that's wonderful, because we have this finesse, this spiciness, this elegance with the Cabernet Franc. It's really I've tasted it just before, but we had a mid-palate that shows very nice flesh, and I say the finish is very persistent. That's really a characteristic of Cabernet Franc. It's the freshness and the persistency that we have in the mouth, and it's a tremendous Cabernet Franc that brings purity of the fruit. We have a very, very large aromatic palette. I also need to tell you that 2014 on the bottle, you don't have a bottle, unfortunately, you have a wheat, which is already good. But if you find a bottle, if you have a bottle, a case of Chateau Angelus 2014, you will see under the label that there is a sticker with the 30th, I mean, the figure 30, and in many different languages and alphabets. That is the 30th vintage of my father, Boüard-Rivoal. So I wanted to pay a tribute. It's not his last vintage, but the 30th.
Stephanie, we have a few questions about what sort of oak treatment this receives, and also what the difference in the blend would be between the 04 and the 14.
So the oak treatment, it's 100% a new oak. 100% new oak on barrel, and it's about 22 month aging. And yes, there is a difference between the blend, because we have 60% on the 2004 that is called the savory and the savour, so it's not really the same translation. It's at 60% Merlot and 40% cabernet franc. That is the usual blend, the classical blend, I'd say, at Angélus. I'd say that you know, that's a great combination between Merlot and Cabernet Franc. The Merlot brings the opulence, the richness, the fruit, and the Cabernet Franc is really the tension, the finesse, the freshness I mentioned, the spiciness. It's the backbone of the wine. So I love this blend and this complementarity. So on this 2004, I really have black fruit, cedar notes. It's very fruity, delicate. We have some velvety tannins, and you know, it's still young. Of course, it shows some notes of evolution, but it really remains young. That's and the tannins tend to soften with the time and are really striking the palate. How are you? What are your feedbacks on the tastings?
Robin and I were just commenting on the difference between the two, and how there's a really striking freshman and bright fruit on the 14, and the 04 is clearly aging, but it has more life to it.
Sure. Also, we have on the 2004, we have the plum, bit of a licorice that comes out. On the 14, I have the black currant, blackberry. We have the 1990, the 2003, right, and 1998. Is that correct?
And 2008.
Yeah. And 2008. Okay. So 1990, I start with this one, is one of the most mythic vintages of Château Angelus. It's a wine that was picked fairly early September, with very hot summer, and we had, lucky you, we had close to 55% Merlot and 45% Cabernet Franc. So slightly more than the classical blend. We have this tremendous Cabernet Franc, and I've tasted it recently. I don't have it with me tonight in France. It's a wine that clearly has evolved, but that is remaining extremely precise, extremely fine and delicate, with notes of underwood, of a very nice mushroom like truffle hint, and leather notes as well. So it's I love this vintage. It's a marvel, and it will age. It will continue to age very well with time.
Could we have someone from Dallas speak to the 98 that you guys opened there? Is that you, Tim?
The 98 is pretty fabulous. It's really, really good. I know some other Dallas folks have the 98 open as well. So it is drinking beautifully right now. It's a nice jump, better than these other two.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, this Bruce in Dallas, we agree with Tim. The 98 is lovely, drinking very well. Clearly, of the four, the 14, and the 98, we prefer the 98. It's absolutely lovely, well-rounded, good black fruits, and still strong.
Yeah, it's still very vibrant
Yeah.
for this age.
Yeah.
We have the 98 here at Triangle, and we're comparing it with various foods, just the smoked meats, and particularly we have a cheese that has a little bit of Merlot in it, and that's a really, really, really nice combination.
Wow.
We also have a 94 and an 82 here, and we haven't gotten to the 82 yet.
Wow, good for you. On the 98, it's really, the name is Subtility. So it's a wine that is really, you know, as it says, the name says, it's really a delicate and a very charming wine. I remember the freshness and the cashmere tannins that I find on this wine.
We're holding the 82 kind of sealed up here so it doesn't get too much air until the end here.
Okay.
We'll be there in a few hours.
Okay.
I cheated and I'm in the 82 already. It's great.
Oh, you guys drank yours already?
Hey, I have to hold up some part of the triangle here.
So 2003 is really a vintage that is not a classical or usual vintage of Angélus, but in Bordeaux because of the heat wave that we had. But you know, thanks to our soils, I mentioned it before. Thanks to our soils, thanks to the cabernet franc, we have 50% cabernet franc, 50% Merlot. We really have this freshness and this tension that in the wine. It's not overripe, it's not jammy, and I think it really stands out amongst 2003 because 2003 is not homogeneous in Bordeaux. You have beautiful wines and you have some that suffered severely from the heat. We called it the Oriental because, as I said, not classical, but I'm always struck by the freshness in this wine.
Tim, are you?
It's very nice. We are enjoying it, and it's definitely, you can tell that it's kind of part way between the two in terms of the blend, and definitely kind of mature, ripe fruit coming through. Very nice.
Fabulous. Who's got one last question?
Is there any planting of the new grapes that they've authorized for Bordeaux for the global warming?
They are thinking, they are really having reflections of it, but you know, Bordeaux is very conservative, so it takes time. We at Angélus, I told you, we really like to experiment. It's very tiny, it's 1% only, it's Petit Verdot. And as I said, Cabernet Franc, I want to plant even more, but it's too early to say if we'll have other grape variety, I'm afraid.
So I know you also wanted to invite all of us to come to Angélus.
Of course, but it was in my conclusion. I have not yet concluded.
Taking away her steam.
More.
No,
Tell
you
us
know,
more.
I really miss, and you know, not being able to travel, to come and see you, to welcome you at Angélus. I was saying also to a few of you, we have two restaurants, one in Bordeaux that I just opened in July, and for the bistro restaurant, and the gastronomical restaurant was open in September, and we have another lockdown that forced us to close after only 1 month of opening. And I wish I can make you discover our restaurants to be all together, but of course we'll have to wait more. So I miss that really, and I miss seeing you in the US and welcoming you in Bordeaux. But for sure, Eric, you can be absolutely certain that we will back together, not necessarily all together at the same time, but we will be. I'm very confident. And before the end, I would like to to wish you a great Thanksgiving celebration next week.
Thank you. And thank you for taking almost 2 hours out of your Saturday night to talk to a bunch of
Yes.
green. We appreciate
My husband is generous.
it.
Merci Stéphanie, c'est gentil. Hein?
My pleasure. You know, wine is about sharing, and I shared my passion with you tonight. So I'm glad I could do that in the current circumstances. So thank you very much all for attending.
Thank you.
Merci.
Merci Eric.
Nice.
Merci beaucoup.
Stephanie.
Merci, madame. Merci.
Bordeaux.
Toujours
Bordeaux. Toujours Bordeaux.
Je Bordeaux.
Bordeaux, toujours Bordeaux.
Toujours Bordeaux.
Hi, Judy.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Au revoir.
Bye.